George Romero was born February 4th, 1940 in New York City. This is where he spent most of his childhood. In 1954, for George's 14th birthday, he received an 8mm camera. This is what started his spark into film. After a while, he graduated college in 1960. His career started by shooting commercials and short films. As the years go by and he got some experience under his belt, in 1968, Romero and several close friends formed Image 10 Productions. Image 10 was named after the 10 principal cast and crew members of the Night of the Living Dead. Believing that Hollywood was unattainable, the Image 10 crew decided to forego the traditional route of lunches, meetings, and disappointments. Each of the Image 10 chipped in $600 each, and the company began. This company created The Night of the Living Dead, one of his most well-known movies. This movie is a great story of independent cinema, a midnight hit that went on to become a box office success and one of the greatest movies ever made. A simple tale of a group of strangers trapped in a farmhouse who find themselves fending off a horde of recently dead flesh-eating monsters. Romero's claustrophobic vision of a late 1960 American literally tearing itself apart rewrote the rules of horror, combining gruesome gore with acute social commentary. The Night of the Living Dead teaches us that monsters are terrible, but humans can be even worse. It was a moment that defined modern horror and is a cult classic. Romero waited to make another zombie film after The Night of the Living Dead for several years to avoid being stereotyped as a horror director. George made 3 movies after The Night of the Living Dead about witches, vampires, madmen, although they did not get good recognition. After this, he found that zombies were his calling. In 1978, George came back to the zombie genre, producing Dawn of the Dead. This was about zombies having overpowered the living and was taking over the world. Society had collapsed as the humans raced to save themselves. No one knows how far these creatures have spread or how to stop them. In downtown Philadelphia, 4 people escape the chaos and find shelter in a vacated shopping mall. But as their greed spirals and the undead close in, their haven for waiting out the end of the world becomes the last battleground for survival. The main goal of Dawn of the Dead is to ridicule American consumer society, but also show the inner city police brutality and suggest racial conflict. An example of this is that the American consumption is the mega mall, which was the new feature in the 70s, giving Romero an idea to critic. Staying in the zombie series, after The Night of the Living Dead in 1968 and Dawn of the Dead in 1978, the other zombie movies to follow were Day of the Dead in 1985, Land of the Dead in 2005, Diary of the Dead in 2007, and Survival of the Dead in 2009, this being his last film. Throughout all these movies that he created, he was given the name Father of Zombie Film. With almost 24 films and 100 of commercial campaigns under his belt, George has written, produced, and/or directed and arranged financing for more than 35 films, televisions, and streaming products. After a while, George became less popular and died off a bit, but his name still remained known for the man that revolutionized the horror genre. The legendary filmmaker began writing what was billed as his final entry into his popular zombie series titled Twilight of the Dead. Sadly, George was unable to finish this movie due to passing away on July 16, 2017 at the age of 77 due to lung cancer.